Good morning, Unity of Music City. Happy Pride Weekend, everybody. You were out in the blazing sun and the heat yesterday like we were. I'm about half brain dead, so I apologize in advance if I say something that does not make sense. We'll just blame it on the heat, right? All right, so we're going to get started by singing a couple of songs this morning and get our energy up and get it focused on having a great service today. So on behalf of Reverend Deb Moore, I'm Gill, that's Jackson, that's Candy, that's Mary Grace. We're the Sanctuary Band. Let's stand as we're able and sing. My soul is welcome here. Thank you so much. Please be seated. All right. Well, whether we have any youth or not, we're going to give them a blessing. Let's all say it together. This is a blessing for our youth. Youth of Unity of Music City, we see you, we love you, and we bless you. You're a shining star for all to see. What your life can truly be.
On, baby.
Would you like to ring the bell? Amy was tapped. Told you I was in the sun too much.
Good morning, Unity of Music City. Let's begin this portion of our service by taking a deep, centering breath. Perseverance is an essential element of my spiritual walk. Nowadays, with 24-hour news stations and social media, we are bombarded with negative news. It seems like all of the good work people do is never seen. We should all be reminded of this quote by Martin Luther King Jr. When our days become dreary with low, hovering clouds of despair, and when our nights become darker than 1,000 midnights, let us remember that there is a creative force in this universe working to pull down gigantic mountains of evil, a power that can make a way out of no way and transform dark yesterdays into bright tomorrows. But guess what? Love always wins. We've all experienced this and know it in the depths of our soul. There are so many reasons to be hopeful. We only need to look around to see interfaith communities like ours standing in solidarity with others to create bridge-building efforts throughout our world, bearing witness to the love, joy, and peace that is everywhere present. If you get discouraged because you might not see the harvest of your efforts, just remember the principle of sowing and reaping. To achieve something great, it will take time and effort. We should all understand that to achieve success in whatever we desire, there is a season of sowing, and then waiting, and then reaping. And none of these things can happen in the same season. Let's all set our intention on perseverance and our daily spiritual walk, because it is only with perseverance that we can pursue and achieve peace within our lives and our world. And now please repeat these affirming statements after me. I know to the depths of my soul that love always wins. I know to the depths of my soul that love always wins. I live in the love, joy, and peace that my spiritual walk gives me. I live in the love, joy, and peace that my spiritual walk gives me. No matter what the situation seems like, I look for the good in all people and all situations. Situation is like, all people in all situations. And so it is.
Well, welcome everyone. So good to see everybody here this morning. We are a interfaith spiritual community that is affirming, and we are here to be with you as you walk your spiritual path. We're here to give you assistance. We're here to give you support. We're here to love you on your spiritual path. And there's a million spiritual paths. Actually, there's as many spiritual paths on this planet as there are people on this planet. And if you want to count some of the other sentient beings, I would go for that also, right? Maybe some of the whales have a spiritual path that we don't even know about, right? That's right. So whatever spiritual path that you came from or are on, we are here to love you and support you on your journey. That's why we're here, and that's why we made it today, right? That's why your soul made your appointment to be here today. So we thank you for being here. I think we got some announcements coming up. Yeah.
Good morning. Good morning. The announcements for today, Sunday, June 23rd. Please join us today for a potluck meal immediately following the service. Everyone is invited. There's also going to be a meeting today, a leadership meeting, and if you're a member, you can come and sit and see what it's like. Summer Spiritual Series, Wednesday, June 26th at 6 p.m. Join us virtually as we explore world religions. We're going to start with Buddhism, hosted by Christy Robinson, Zen chaplain from New Mexico's Upaya Zen Center. I've known Christy for many years. She's one of my best friends. She is the only chaplain for Metro Police Department. So if something does happen and there are officers that are called, there's going to be a chaplain that is also called, and she is the only Buddhist chaplain in this area. She's an amazing person. This is not a church event. We are hosting it through the church, but if you want to share with your friends and people online, you can find the Zoom link in the What's Happening email blast that's titled What's Happening. So share the gift of your talent with your community in July. We are planning a coffee house and art show on Friday, July 12th at 7 p.m. The evening will be a potluck with art showing in the lobby and performances on the stage. Discuss your plans with Ryan Gill or Valerie Dennison and let us know what you would like to share. Deadline for sign-ups and art submissions is July 8th. Community meeting next month, Sunday, July 14th, following the service. Catch up on our latest developments, hear what's coming up, and or share your suggestions. This is a whole church meeting. All meeting or activity links and contact numbers can be found on the website, the weekly happenings, Google Calendar, and you can always email the church. A Save Paw update. Last week, Sarah and her family found a young stray kitten, in need of some urgent medical care. Sarah and the kids took the kitten into the vet. This kitten, who barely weighed 2 pounds, had 2 bot flies embedded in its chin and neck. After receiving care, Sarah contacted Safe Paw to find further support, only to find out Safe Paw had no foster homes available. Safe Paw shared that if Sarah could find a foster home until the neuter appointment, which would be by the end of the summer, they could get the animal neutered and then find an adoptive home. Through this amazing spiritual community, Sarah was able to connect with Amy and Candy, who agreed to foster the kitten. This fortunate kitten now has a hopeful future. This is where we need your help. Safe Paw is currently in desperate need of foster homes for cats and kittens. These foster homes provide care and socialization while waiting for a spay-neuter appointment prior to adoption. Safe Paw will provide food and veterinary care for pets being fostered. Both adult cats and kittens are available to foster. If you're interested or have any questions, please reach out to Sarah Esper. Can you raise your hand? Back there. Thank you so much. And I think that's all for today. Do you want to add to that at all? Okay, fantastic. Thanks, everyone.
All right. Thank you, Frank. All right, are we ready to sing again? It's time to do our monthly mantra, which I think we're going to get it this week, right? We've been learning it over the past couple of weeks, and just to remind you, I'm going to sing the first chorus to you, and then you're going to sing the rest of it to me, okay? All right, I'm going to start it out for you. When you
Morning, everybody. I think who's on first, but I'm not sure what who is giving. Maybe. Da-da-da. You know I had to go there. How's everybody doing? Thank you. Let me ask you a serious question. How many kittens do you think we could house in this room?
Ooh.
Like, we could put a few litter boxes in, change them out periodically. Okay, we need a kitty litter changing team, a ministry. Automatic feeders. We could put up those little cameras where we can talk to them. You know, you got to think outside the box. That's what I've been told anyway. Outside the litter box. All right. The cattery. Well, welcome everyone. I invite you to close your eyes if it feels comfortable to you for this meditative portion of our service. Do whatever you need to do to access the stillness. Maybe you need to lower your shoulders. Or let the tongue fall away from the roof of the mouth. Take slow, deep breaths. And then when we get the physical still, we focus on the inside. We may have thoughts that try to come and get our attention. We just let them come without engagement, and by themselves they will go. We are all climbing the mountain. And we think that at the top is God, love, awakening, enlightenment. They're all the same thing. But in the stillness, we begin to realize that we are the mountain. We are really on a journey into the heart of ourself. So that we can sit in full awareness of our true nature as pure love. Pure love. It is not something that we necessarily need to give or receive or do. It is something that we are. And through our understanding of that, every action becomes an act of love. Every relationship becomes a loving relationship. So for a moment together, we sit in the stillness where we have let go of everything else except that. The love that we are. In the silence. In the stillness. Father God, for always meeting us here. We only think that you have just arrived because we made the space, but the truth is that you were there waiting for us. Waiting for us to let go of everything that tries to get our attention. And the one thing that often holds our attention most firmly, the one obstacle that most often stands in the way of our experienced oneness with you, is our judgment of ourselves. So as Ryan and Mary Grace sing this song, I invite you to consider letting go of that one last piece. I think that's what a Unity revival service feels like. You know, Benjamin Franklin had a morning question and an evening question. What good will I do today was the morning question. What good did I do today was the evening question. Okay, let's pretend like that's going to stay there. And I think maybe it would help to have a morning song and an evening song, and both of them would be that one. Right? Both of them would be that one. That is such a beautiful song, and it gets me every single time. Ryan told me he needs to sing it about 100 times just so he can get to the place where it's like, okay, now I'm not so moved by it. It's kind of like, I imagine it's kind of like, you remember when Elton John sang at Princess Diana's funeral? And I always wondered how he could possibly make it through that. And in the same kind of way, I wonder how Ryan makes it through that song, but he does in such a beautiful job. Such a beautiful job. So today is our Satsung, which is what we do periodically. And in a few moments, we'll open up the floor for any kind of questions or thoughts. But I wanted to kind of get us started just a little bit today with some things that have been going on. Friday night we had our full moon gathering, which we have had, I am proud to say, every single month since we have moved in here. Rain or shine, heat or cold, right? And we feel it, boy. Let me just tell you, there was no fire built Friday night, right? No fire built. We're not doing a fire. And the big question that I always get every time someone asks about our full moon gathering, if they've never been to it, they say, well, is there a ritual? Because, of course, like a lot of people do ritual under a full moon, right? And when we first started having them, I thought, maybe we should have a ritual. We should do something, right? The first couple of times, I think I called in the 4 directions or something like that. And then I kind of put it out to the folks who were gathering, and I said, let's make our own ritual. Let's just whatever our own ritual is. Well, you know, nobody really picked that ball up and ran with it. And we decided eventually that the ritual was that we gathered. And so one of the things, I want to tell you briefly my thoughts on ritual, because I know we have different ideas about ritual in our group, right? I think Ryan and Frank have different ideas in their own household about ritual, right? As I know it, Frank loves ritual, and I do too. Ryan doesn't care for it so much, and neither do I, right? I mean, like it's both of, I have to be all things to all people. It's no. Reverend Sybil. Okay, so. But here's my thought on ritual from a community perspective, from the perspective of our congregation. Ritual is important to the people who are part of the community. People who come for the first time, ritual looks weirder than hell, right? It's the part of whatever gathering there is that people go, okay, that was a little weird. But for the folks who were there, it feels great. We're used to it. We know what it's about. We know what it represents. But some folks can come in and go, I don't know about that part. Even when we were, for a time, beginning our meditations with the chanting of Om, I often wanted to kind of preface that for anybody who was there for the first time as to what that purpose was. Because someone who doesn't know about chanting Om or has not connected with the power that can be could walk in and go, what did I just walk into, right? And as an interfaith, inclusive, affirming community, the first message that we want to send to anybody who walks through here is, you know what? You belong. We want to do everything we can to make you comfortable. That doesn't mean that we alter our principles or our values or anything like that, but it means that we create a space that feels comfortable and safe, right? And so for me, the gathering has been enough, right? That's enough of a ritual. So Friday night when I pulled up for our full moon gathering, oops, I got to turn it on, don't I? Yeah, I do. When I pulled up, I saw this. I saw this wild turkey, and I realized that that pond that Deborah Champion and her team have been working on, it's so beautiful back there. If you haven't walked back there, you should definitely do so after the service or whenever. I've learned that the pond is now a watering hole for a lot of the wildlife in our area. And so we knew we had skunks that visited because almost every full moon we've seen them. They're very respectful. They keep their distance. We keep ours. We try not to freak out so as to keep them from freaking out. We see deer. We see all kinds of things. But last night was the first night I saw this turkey, and he was drinking from our pond. And I got several pictures of him. He was a little bit put out that I interrupted his drink, and he gobbled at us from the woods a little while. But I looked up the totem animal for turkey. I mean, you know, this is one of those things where anybody sitting in here, there's a lot of people who are like, oh yeah, what's the totem animal say? There's other people going, what kind of people are you? It's okay. It's just something to open up our own hearts and minds. Anything that opens up our own hearts and minds. This is what it said when I looked it up. The turkey is a spirit animal closely associated with honoring nature and the earth. So that's what we do on the full moon, right? We honor the physical world. Symbol of abundance, this totem animal encourages us to honor our sources of nourishment, whether they are physical, emotional, or spiritual. So this is a place of nourishment for me, spiritual and after church, physical as well. The turkey reminds us to develop a harmonious relationship with the land and our environment and consider them as foundations to our well-being and sustenance. The turkey totem is a powerful guide to unlocking the fullness of life on the full moon and feeling content with what we have instead of accumulating material belongings to seek happiness. This is what it symbolizes: abundance, hallelujah, connection with the spirit of the land, with Mother Earth, blessings from the earth, forms of nourishment in your life, harvesting the fruits of your efforts and your work, the importance of community, generosity, sharing, having enough. And so I thought, what a beautiful symbol. You know, Ben Franklin, since I mentioned him, advocated the turkey as the national bird of the United States, right? I didn't even plan on those two things. That just came to me, right? I don't know. That sounds like I planned it. I did not, right? So the turkey, what a beautiful, beautiful symbol of who we are as a community and what we're doing. I took it as an incredible omen that we're on the right path as a spiritual community in what we're doing. So recently, I wanted to stop, you know, periodically we stop and we do the Satsung kind of version, the Q&A. And recently we've gone through a couple of series. We went through the Mary Magdalene series. And in that series we talked about Jesus' path of conscious love being one that is highlighted by kenosis, which is the Greek word for emptying of oneself. The emptying of oneself, letting go of everything. So that we can then see the abundance all around us that we're swimming in, that we're living in, right? It's the water and we are the fish. And then leading to the singleness, the unitive living, the understanding of oneness. And then I started the brief series that didn't know it was going to be a series until it became a series that was nothing, something, everything. Where we began again with this idea of emptying ourselves out. Right? Emptying ourselves out into nothingness. And that sounds a little counterintuitive. I've had folks come to me, as a matter of fact, and have questions during the week. I know folks have questions about that emptiness, about how to attain it, about what the heck it is, what should it feel like, how do I get there? You know, at any given moment, we have a range of people in our community who are at various and sundry places on their path. And some people are over here asking really, you know, like big advanced questions about when I'm in the emptiness and I'm detaching. And other people are over here going, So how should I meditate? How do I meditate? Right? And so we want to take a moment to kind of see where you are and what is up for you. This can feel like a question and answer. Someone, he's not here today, someone's referred to this as Stump the Reverend, right? This is not Stump the Reverend, because here's the thing. The Reverend has no answers. The Reverend is here with a commitment to shining a light, hopefully, on the answers you hold within yourself. That's my job. And so I've devoted my life to that, which means that I spend a little bit more time in that energy. I've spent a little bit more time in study, and maybe, perhaps maybe, I'll know which light to shine on your own innate wisdom so that you begin to feel that sense of emptiness, which is really abundance, which is the oneness of living an awakened life. That's pretty much it. What's up? Somebody come to the microphone and tell me what's on your mind. Anything, anyone. Be the first. Rip the Band-Aid off. All right, Ben.
I got a question about Jesus.
Okay. I love Jesus.
I've been thinking a lot about Jesus lately.
Okay.
All right. So we have 4 different Gospels with 4 different accounts in the canonical Gospels.
Yes.
And then we've got a dozen non-canonical Gospels that, like, I know nothing about except I now read the Gospel of Mary Magdalene. Mm-hmm. So, which doesn't have Jesus in it, really. Uh-huh. Like that what the portions I was able to find is he's not really in there. It's more about them once he's dead.
Yeah.
So, my question is, when you think about Jesus, do you think about the portions that you find in the Bible that lend to a hippie Jesus, a king Jesus, or a prophet Jesus? Because it almost is starting to feel like there's different Jesuses being presented, and some of them multiple Jesuses in one gospel. It's
Right.
very confusing for someone like me who believed there was one Jesus who said certain things and didn't say other things, and all of a sudden it's confusing because it feels like there's a lot of
Yeah.
Jesuses. So
Yeah.
how do you see Jesus?
I love all the Jesuses. Yeah, it is a really good question, and I will tell you that this is, of course, like everything else, something that everyone needs to come to with their own understanding of Jesus. As someone who was raised similar to you in a very fundamentalist Christian background, very similar to Mary Grace, I know, Jesus was often represented as something he may not have been, right? Jesus becomes a figure, a puppet of whatever is convenient, a puppet of convenience for a lot of folks. And so when I started deconstructing and I left traditional Christian religion, I left it all. I left it, like, I don't want anything to do with any of it. And then I began reconstructing my own spiritual walk. It took me longer to come back to Jesus than just about anything because of the misrepresentation and the damage that had been done. But when I went back to Jesus, I made a commitment to going back on like, not letting anybody else speak for him. Now that's hard because all we have are other people speaking for him. That's all we have in the Gospels, right? And so we can look at these different Gospels, we can look at the non-canonical Gospels, and we can say, well, this is what Mary Magdalene said about Jesus, this is what so-and-so said about Jesus, and they were all written, 50 years after he even was to have lived. So the heart of Jesus for me goes back to the Sermon on the Mountain, right? The Sermon on the Mount, the Beatitudes. There's a big brouhaha going on right now because the governor of Louisiana has declared that every school has to put the 10 Commandments up. I've always wondered why Christians want to put Hebrew law up on the wall, right? Because wouldn't it be much more fitting to put the Beatitudes? Blessed are the merciful. Blessed are the peacemakers. Blessed are the poor in spirit, right? And so when I go back and I look, Thomas Jefferson created the Jeffersonian Bible, which was nothing but the words of Jesus. And so, which felt like a really, an update, it's an improvement. Jesus to me now, for me now, is somebody who got it, a teacher, but other than that, no different from you and I. Right? He came and he modeled this integrated life, this life that led from love, right? This life that was empty of himself, not my will but thine be done. This life that just came and modeled this full integration of oneness with God. That's what I see Jesus as. And beyond that, he doesn't need to be anything else for me. He doesn't need to be anything else for me. It took me a long time to add a picture of Jesus to my home altar at my house. I had Shiva. I had Saraswati. It wasn't until I went into my Hindu friend's home and I saw a statue of Krishna next to a picture of Jesus, and I was like, she goes, oh yeah, I love Jesus. I love Jesus. He's an avatar of Shiva, you know. So that's what... And so just being able to put Jesus into... I think Jesus is perfectly fine being what you need him to be, as long as it's all about love. That's what I get from Jesus. That's what I get from Jesus. And Jesus in the Mary Magdalene movie was my favorite Jesus of all. Who else? Okay, good.
So you're talking about nothing.
It doesn't really move.
Something.
Sorry.
I got it. And then everything.
Yeah.
And then gathering and ritual. And what we do here is a ritual that evokes something, right? Mm-hmm. We have songs, and then we have words, and then we have songs and meditation and service to evoke something. The Quakers just sit together and just listen. So I guess what I want to put out there and see what you have to say is, what if we did a Sunday where we did none of that and went into nothing and see if that evoked something?
Okay.
If we just gathered.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. 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 Quaker. Do we need to quake?
If you feel the spirit.
If you feel the spirit. If you feel the spirit. The great thing about our spiritual community is that it's ours to build and create. And that's why, whatever it is, there are certain folks who build and create certain parts of it, like Ryan and the music team, who do such a great job with the beginning of the service and all kinds of different elements. But it is ours to build and create. And that's why we came together. Frank and Valerie headed the community gathering back at the end of last year, the beginning of this year, where it was like, what do you want? What's on your mind? What would you like to see more of? What would you like to see less of? That kind of thing. And that's really important, to build the kind of community, but also keep in mind that we're building community not just for us, but for everyone who walks through that door. Everyone who walks through that door walks in to go, okay, let me check these people out, right? Let me check these people out. And so, yeah, being intentional about all of that. Cool. What else? Surely someone's got a question about emptiness. I feel it. Everybody's enlightened in this group. All right, good. I love that. Okay, all right, good. Do it.
So yesterday was Pride.
Yeah.
And luckily we didn't see any people on the outside protesting. I was acutely aware, though, that we're in an election year, and that things are going to get really heated. And so can you speak to, give us maybe some advice, I guess, onto how to find love and unity as we move forward, because I really feel like things like women's rights are going to come up, and then we're going to have that. I'm getting chills. It's hard to even think about. And then just like these really hard conversations, and we want to stay in a place of love. But I know it's going to be hard. So can you speak to that a little bit?
Ooh, Lord, have mercy. Politics. Yesterday, I was on Facebook, which of course is the one place that is safe from politics in the world. I was on Facebook, and I'm a member of a group of people on Facebook that tend to have my political bent, if you will, in the county where I live. And someone got in there who's running for a local office. And he said, so I did it. I did something I was a little bit afraid to do, but I did it. I went as a candidate to the gathering of the constitutional Republicans in Sumner County. As a Democrat candidate, I went to shake hands and meet people. There were constituents who were meeting. And I could feel in my own self, it's like, oh, and he said, you know what happened? I met some really nice people, and we had some great conversations. And he said, some people came up to me and said, you know what, I really appreciate you running as a Democrat and not as a, Democrat posing as a Republican so you can get elected in Sumner County kind of thing. And they had some great conversations. They found some common ground. Of course, they found some places where they disagree. But I thought, man, what a beautiful message for this time. It reminds me of the guy, I can't think of his name right now. His first name's Daryl. He's a black man who befriended Ku Klux Klan members. And he spent his whole life sitting down with Ku Klux Klan members, and he's collected it when they finally kind of like realize they love Daryl and they don't really want to be a part of a racist organization anymore. They give him their robes, and he's got a whole collection of Klan robes in his house now. Now, I think there's a couple things to keep. I think about this all the time because I try to think about the line between what is politics and what is principle. What are the things I can compromise on? What are the things I can't compromise on? Right? How do we, and what about the people who feel differently and the things they feel they can't compromise on and I feel I can, right? So here's a couple of things that I've come to terms with for myself. Number one is I hold everything lightly. Love is first. Love is first. Love is first. Right? I hold everything lightly. I realize also that I have faith personally in a divine creator that is bigger than I am. I do what I can do. I meditate, I pray, I show up in love, I vote, I do what I can do, right? I also realize that part of our angst, this is the most political I'll get right here, part of our angst in the United States is that we've been fairly protected from really bad political situations. Folks, go spend some time in South America, or go spend some time in, wherever, India, Myanmar. Go spend some time, but don't go to the Sudan right now. They got a horrible problem going on right now. So part of that is we have this, I think we have to de-escalate our big fear of other, right? Just like that man represented yesterday when he went to the picnic and met people and shook hands. We're going to have to figure out how to de-escalate our fear of other, because we here at Unity, we're about oneness. And if there's oneness, then I'm one with everybody. I'm one with everybody. And that's tough. I get it. Let me tell you something. I'm a lesbian preacher in the South. I understand. I understand how hard it can be when it feels like someone's out there spewing lies and hate about you. I've lived with it all my life. I've lived with it all my life. And I have to just let it go. As I said yesterday in a meme that I put on, let all that shame roll right off your rainbow force field, right? Let it just roll right off. And remember what you give attention to. I think perhaps that spiritual message during an election year is important too. Remember what you give attention to. When I realized that politics was making me crazy, I did. I got off my phone. This is the black hole of despair right here, right? And I put it aside, and I said, where can I put my mind? Where can I put my attention? Right? And pray, and hope, and vote, and be okay. Be okay. Anything else? What else? Yes, Valerie in the back.
Very good advice. Very good advice. Your talk of the surrender experiment has taken me back to Michael Singer.
Mm-hmm.
And I discovered that he has sounds true set of lessons about living from the place of surrender. And so I've been listening to that. I'm only a third of the way through, but it's basically our consciousness is here to take in experience and experience it and let it go, right? But then we have this preference system that we develop, and they're the things that we're afraid of from the past, or the things we love from the past that we're attached to and looking for in the future again. And so those two things, removing those constructs from my consciousness, is what I'm being awakened to right now. And then there's the next level, which is the conceptual level, where our mind begins to develop what we think we need in order to be happy. And so that too is falling away now again.
Yeah.
And so my life is focused on beauty and creating and inspiration. And so focusing on those things is allowing my life to bloom again.
Right.
So I'm very excited about the coffee house and the art show.
Yeah.
For those of you who want to focus on creating, or who do already focus on that,
Yeah.
we really want you to come and share. And that's my focus this year, is just beauty.
Yeah.
So,
I think that's a great point, and Michael Singer makes it so well. And that is, remember last week, I believe I showed, last week or the week before, the picture that had, the past and the future and the now in the middle, and shifting our perspective was making the now much bigger and putting the past and future into really small buckets on the farthest outside. And I really feel like that's so key to everything. We live so much of our lives in the past and the future, to the point where, listen to most conversations. Most conversations are either about what has happened to you or what is going to happen to you, right? And so when we think about, if you encounter someone and you go, "Hi, how are you doing?" "Oh, great, let me tell you, yesterday it was just like crazy," and all that. And so we immediately go into the past or the future instead of staying right here. "I'm doing great. How are you?" Like in this moment. It doesn't mean you can't talk about the past. What else would we talk about if we didn't talk about the past and the future, right? But to become much more aware of being present in the now, right? Being present in the now. And when you're present in the now, those preferences that Michael Singer talks about, which we have constructed, become kind of meaningless. It's kind of like whatever, how I'm in completely 100% in this moment, in this oneness with God, and I need nothing to change. I need nothing to be different in this moment, right? And I think that's a way, too, for us to navigate through difficult times through challenging times. And trust me, I know they're challenging. I mean, this has been the great question for churches like Unity, and that is, yes, we want to focus our attention on beauty and inspiration and creativity and goodness, and when people are hurting, we don't want to ignore that. When people are in pain, when people are being oppressed, when people are struggling, we can't ignore that. But figuring out in every moment, and if there was an answer, if there was one answer, Jesus, the right Jesus, would have told it to us all those years ago, and there'd be no questions. We'd all just follow that. That's why spirituality is an art, and that's why there's so many paths up the mountain, because what works for me may not work for you. How I get through election season may not work for you. You might have a different way of doing it, and doing it without judgment, completely without judgment. Ooh. Doing it without judgment. Doing it without judgment allows me to look at the person who is up and advocating for something I believe in and being loud, and neither judging them nor judging myself for not doing that. Right? Saying they're playing their role, I'm playing mine. We're all playing our role. If that makes sense, without judgment. Oh, I know that's asking a lot, but all right. Well, I'll tell you what. I'm just going to give us a little wrap up here so that we can be done in a timely manner. But I want to talk to you for just a second about this sense of emptiness. Because it's a concept that we spend years and years trying to wrap our brains around, and that is exactly the wrong way to access it. That's why it takes us so long. Spirituality is not hard. It's just that we are using the wrong tool, right? We're using the wrong tool. And the idea of the emptiness is that we learn to set aside all those preferences, the past and the future, everything that is not here, now, in this moment. We put everything aside. How I feel about the president. How I feel about the people running for president. How I feel about this law. How I feel, all that's got to be put aside. How I feel about this group of people. How I feel about this ideology. Put it aside. Really put it aside. You can always pick it back up again. You're not losing your moorings. You're not losing your sense of principle and values that you have as a human being. But we put everything aside to remember who we are, because it is the only way that we can remember who everyone else is too. Everyone else. Right? It's the only way. And so ultimately, at the end of the day, whatever rituals we have or we don't have, whatever full moons we gather under, whatever songs we sing, whatever messages we try to give, at the end of the day, it comes back to this. You and God as one in the spaciousness of your own heart. Letting that lead. Letting the love lead. Right? Without judgment. If it's got judgment, it's not love. Letting the love lead. And practicing oneness with each other. Because that's about the best we can do, is practice. Join us for lunch. Namaste.
Thank you, Reverend Deb. Well, I wore this t-shirt for a reason. And that's because shifts happen. And I have been feeling a lot of shifting happening, on every single level, whether it's in my daily life, in my country, in my spiritual community. There are shifts happening all of the time. And for some reason, I've just really been acutely aware of those. over the past couple of weeks. And I can tell you that the past me looked at these shifts with dread. Like, oh boy, shifts are happening, and how am I going to handle this? Or do I have the fortitude to deal with this? Or do I have the knowledge to deal with this? But now, over the past several years, as I have been growing spiritually, I look at shifts differently now. And the way that I look at shifts differently now is I look at them with curiosity, and I say, what's this going to bring out in my life? What's this going to bring out in the world? And how can I contribute to that creativity, right? So I can be a bystander. That may be my role, is to be an observer. I may feel the call to be active in that shift. But whatever my role is, I have to come at it with a place of curiosity and creativity, and be willing to accept that shift, because I know that the creator of that shift knows exactly what they're doing, right? And all I need to do is just show up and do my part. And so today I'm grateful that shifts happen, and shifts happen in our favor, right? It may seem like we're going backwards, but even if we're going backwards, it won't be for long. We're going backwards to remember something so that we can move forward. So I'm grateful for shift, and I'm grateful for change. A lot of change happening in my life. So I have to look at it as being grateful for the opportunity to change. Anybody else grateful for anything else going on in their life? So grateful for Pride. So I don't know about you, but every time I go to Pride, it's like going to a family reunion, right? You see people you haven't seen forever. You get a bunch of hugs. You know, I just wish they could do it to the beginning of June and not the end of June. What else are we grateful for? Anybody? This is the time that you can just shout anything out that you're grateful for. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm an ally, and I have learned so much. If y'all have not seen it, you need to watch. If you watch Netflix, have you ever watched the series Sex Education? It is wonderful. You learn every little detail about all kinds of sex. And it's just been, I don't really feel a lot, but it's been eye-opening for me, some of the things that I've learned. And I'm just thankful for that show.
Elsie's proud to be an ally of the LGBT plus community.
That's awesome.
We're grateful for her being an ally.
And we're grateful for Elsie being a great ally.
Yep.
What else are we grateful for?
Family.
Family.
My wife and daughter.
Family, yeah, absolutely.
Great friends.
Great friends. It's that time of the year, gathering with friends and reconnecting, and what a great time of year for that. What else are we grateful for?
Air conditioning.
Air conditioning, yes.
Yeah.
I realized that about 3 hours into Pride yesterday. Whew. Anybody, anything else?
Getting just everything that we need. Like we don't feel like we do, but somehow we're all sitting here okay. We don't have to take that for granted.
We're grateful that all our needs are met. Yeah. All our needs are met. And that's a great segue into I Am Grateful. So let's all sing this song as a prayer.
Life's
Care to lead? The light of God surrounds us.
The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The merits of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. 1, 2, 3. Wash over us. We let it be. We let the love wash over us. We let it be.
Everybody's welcome to stay for lunch, and you can stay for the meeting too. What's wrong with that picture? Good Lord, it's like working in a mechanic shop. Drink, water. Stay hydrated. I'm glad you have to be in the kitchen all the time. Oh, I thought you were hosting now.
Are you cooking?
No, I make drinks and run all the food.
Okay.
Okay, all right. Oh my gosh. So you were in there half the time? Yeah, wow.
Wow.
For some reason, I always think you grew up in the Pacific Northwest. Like,
No, I lived in Seattle. I lived in LA. I lived in Hawaii. I'm from Alabama. About 7 years. Yeah.
you're a Southerner.
I do everything about 7 years. So I lived in